Hello everybody, and welcome to the orientation video for MGF 1106, Topics in Math for the summer of 2021. I will be your instructor, Robert Schaller, and in this orientation video, I just want to go through the basics of the course, how to access the materials, how to do the homework, take the exams, what's required of you over these next 6 weeks. For an online course, especially for the summer semester, since things move so quickly, I always like to start the orientation by putting it out there. This is not going to be easy. It's probably not the thing you wanted to hear, but an online math course is inherently not easy. You do all the same material that a regular course does. It's not watered down at all. We still have to teach all the same concepts. Also, this is a summer math course. It's faster. In a fall or a spring term, you have 16 weeks to digest the material. In this course, since it's a summer A, that's our first half of summer, you have 6 weeks. You are losing 10 weeks of study time. 10 weeks that you're not studying, but learning all the same material. So I always try to put that into perspective with students when they take an online course or when they take a summer course, or in your situation, both. You're taking an online summer math course. Think about how scary that sounds. Online math in the summer. So for the next 6 weeks straight, you are going to be doing mathematics for hours and hours and hours every day. If you take a day off, you're really hurting yourself, because you'll see that with all the material that we cover, it's very easy to fall behind very quickly. So again, I like to put that out there right up front, because some people at this point are just close the video and drop the course, and I don't want to waste your time. But if you're still in it to win it, then just know you have to be a very good, motivated, and dedicated student. Like I said, there's no classroom, so you don't get to ask a question and get instant feedback. You have to email me, then wait for my response. Or if you're watching one of the lecture videos, the best you can do is pause and rewind it. You can't ask a video to explain it differently. You have to go look on YouTube for another video that maybe explains it a different way or does a different example. So now you're spending more time just trying to first grasp the concept. So again, keep in mind, you do all the exact same amount of work that a student would do in 16 weeks, but you do it in 6. And also, you don't get the benefit of a teacher in a classroom, face-to-face, instant feedback, fellow students that you can study and bounce ideas off of and communicate with. All that's gone. Basically, all you have is your laptop screen and a video that explains it. So that said and done, if you're still thinking, hey, I want to give this course a try, then I'm going to explain to you what you need to do in order to be successful. So right now you're watching this video. I'm going to go open the syllabus, and I'm not going to read it all word for word. I'm just going to very quickly hit some of the key points that I want to hit in the syllabus. So right off the bat, up top, you've got me. My office is on the Bradenton campus in the math building, building 27. I won't be on campus for the first half of summer because I only have online courses. I may pop in my office here or there. But for the most part, I won't be on campus. I'll just be teaching from home. I answer my emails pretty much on a daily basis, so you can always shoot me an email. It's schaller1@scf.edu. Please make sure you use your official student email address. If you send me an email from a Gmail account or Yahoo, I cannot respond to those. That's just college policy. So make sure you're using your student email to email me, or best case, when you're in Canvas, you can just go in your inbox and select the course 1106 and just say, hey, I want to email my instructor. And then it will send me an email. I check both emails, my regular and my Canvas email. I can do office hours. And the nice thing about office hours, even if I'm not on campus and you're not on campus, the way I have it set up on Canvas is I have a virtual office hour link that you can click on, and it will open up Microsoft Teams. I have a webcam and a whiteboard at home. So if you have a rough work schedule, you work all day long, or you have kids that you have to take care of and you don't get any downtime until the evening, shoot me an email. I can pretty much be available almost any time of the day. Please don't say, hey, can we have office hours at 3 a.m.? But something reasonable. We can do some office hours, and I can just pop in Teams, have my webcam on, I have my whiteboard behind me, and I can explain concepts that way. So there is a virtual office hours link right there ready to go. But shoot me an email and we can set something up for some office hours if you need them. For online courses, typically what I see is students are a little more independent in online courses. They don't really use office hours too much. They more so use the tools that are built into MathLab. So when I show you MathLab, I'll show you what I mean by those nice fancy tools that help you get through the concepts. So again, I don't want to go through this word for word. Just read through it. Make sure there's nothing scary in there. Here are the most important things. First thing, this is a Gordon Rule math course. Well, basically Gordon Rule means it's college level math credit. So if before this you had to take like pre-algebra or basic algebra or intro stat, depending on which course you were taking, you might not have gotten what they call college level math credit for it. Since this is MGF 1106, this does give you actual college level math credit for whatever degree you're going for. In this case, probably like an AA degree, and then later to transfer on to a bachelor's. So this course is college level mathematics. I do highly recommend a calculator. You don't need anything fancy like a TI-84 with the color screen and rechargeable battery. Just a basic calculator that has plus, minus, multiply, and divide will really get you through this course. However, if you know you're going to also take statistics or MGF 1107, which is liberal arts math, the other course that's kind of like the sister component to this course, you might want to try and get your hands on a TI-83 or at least borrow one for the summer. Especially if you're going to take statistics, that's when you're really going to want that TI-83 or TI-84. I recommend the 84 just because it's a little nicer. So we will use my MathLab in order to do all the homework and all the exams. So everything's going to be done in my MathLab with the exception of one thing, the orientation quiz, which I'll get back to in just a second. So there are 5 tests and a required final exam. Yes, you have to take the final exam, even if you have a perfect 100 in the course. It's not avoidable. You have to take the final exam. And yes, the final exam is cumulative, meaning it covers the entire course. So it's not just based on the last chapter. The final exam covers absolutely everything from day one. Each exam is worth 100 points, 5 exams, so that's 500 total. The homework, I made 300 points. I want the homework to be sort of a nice cushion. You have unlimited attempts on all the homework problems, so even if you get it wrong, you can redo it and get it correct. As long as you're doing all the homework by the due date, you should be getting hundreds or at least very close to hundreds on the homework, so hopefully that little cushion builds your grade up if your test grades aren't so great. And then the final exam is 200 points, so it actually counts basically what 2 tests would count. So it's a little hefty for the final exam. But that final exam is cumulative. Keep that in mind. It covers everything we learn throughout the course. For late work, I have it built into MathLab so that if you go past the due date, there's a 20% point reduction, but it still lets you back into the assignment. So try to do everything on time. Again, it's a 6-week summer, really fast-paced course. It's very easy to fall behind if you just, say, I'm going to be lazy this weekend and I'm just not going to do any work. Then come Monday, not only are you 2 days behind, but you also still have to do Monday's work Monday after you catch up for those 2 days you missed. These online courses go really, really fast, and I tell people that you should probably be doing, 2 or 3 sections a day. If you're keeping up with that pace, then you're allowed a weekend. But if you're one of those people that only does half a section every day, you're not going to be able to finish that week's work in 1 week. You're going to be working 8 days a week, and there aren't 8 days in a week. So I don't know how that would work out for you. So keep that in mind. Late work is just kind of built into the MathLab with a penalty. There is a required initial assignment, and that's the orientation quiz on Canvas. So make sure you do this orientation quiz. It doesn't hurt your grade. It's just one question, and that one question basically says, hey, I read the syllabus and I know what I'm responsible for. Basically, all this is sort of like a glorified attendance assignment. If you don't take this orientation quiz, which is the first assignment, then you risk being withdrawn from the course as what we call a no-show. And this has happened to students. They don't take the orientation quiz, and then they wait until like week 2 to register for the My Math Lab. They say, oh, I finally got my paycheck, or my financial aid finally kicked in, so now I registered for Math Lab. Well, there's a free trial you could have been using, so that's not an excuse. But then they say, why am I removed from the course? I say, you never did the orientation quiz. You have to do this quiz. Otherwise, I don't know if you're actually a living, breathing human being on the other side. So again, it's basically like glorified attendance. Don't skip it, because you do risk being withdrawn from the course as a no-show. Attendance, again, it's online, so we don't really have much to worry about there. There's some support for Math Lab. We don't use Connect or WebAssign. Technology requirements, I do have to say that you must have reliable internet and a device that gets you onto the internet. Saying, oh, I use my phone and I don't have unlimited data, so I can't take the test. Not my problem. You have to have reliable internet, and you have to have a device that you can trust. Worst case scenario, you can always go to campus, sit in the library, and use the internet on campus, or use a computer in the library. But you do have to have reliable internet. And for this course, we use what's called HonorLock, which is a proctoring service that says you have to have a webcam and you have to use the HonorLock extension in Google Chrome. You can download Google Chrome for free. You can borrow a check out a webcam from the library on campus if you need to. But for the last test, which is test 5, and for the final exam, we have to use this HonorLock. That's just college policy. The first couple of tests won't use HonorLock. Those are just regular tests. You have a certain time limit. You just access the test, you take the test. Whereas for the last couple, you have to use the HonorLock. And I made a totally separate video on how to use HonorLock. Since we don't need it right now, I'm not going to go too into detail. You can watch this video a little bit later, and I'll make an announcement and say, hey, everyone, make sure you watch that video. The next test, test number 5, is going to require HonorLock, so I'll remind you as it gets closer. For the first couple of tests, don't worry about it. Just start to feel out the course, the pace of the course, and the work you have to do. But I made a whole separate section for the HonorLock stuff, basically for test 5 and for the final exam. You can see there's a final study guide there. We do have a COVID-19 policy now on our syllabi. Basically, since we're online, it's not really going to be too big of an issue. But if you do have to quarantine or you do test positive, please self-report on our website. There's a link right here. Let the college know. What that does is it then someone from, like student services will generate an email to me that says so-and-so is in quarantine. They have tested positive. Please adjust any of their assignment due dates to help work with the student. If you just email me and say, hey, I got a stomach ache. Can I take the test tomorrow instead of today? I'm going to say no. Hey, I got called into work. Please extend the due dates. No. College is for adults, and adults have a lot of responsibility. The one thing that I am allowed to do is if you have tested positive, then I can work with you to adjust those due dates. Because if you're in the hospital, or if you're just really, really not feeling well, and obviously your mental capacity is not 100%, if you report and it's on record, then I can adjust due dates and work with you. But if you just say, oh, I just wasn't feeling well, then that's the risk that you took. Withdrawal, I don't withdraw anybody. As long as you're working and taking tests, I don't withdraw you. It's usually pretty easy to see when someone gives up in the course. They basically don't do anything for a week and a half or 2 weeks. And then I just email the department chair and say, hey, the student's not working and missed the last 2 tests. And the department chair says, yep, withdraw them. Plagiarism is cheating. Usually in like English class, they call it plagiarism when you copy and paste something off of Wikipedia. Same thing in mathematics. When you copy and paste something off of your friend who's doing their work on a computer right next to you, you're stealing their work and claiming it as your own. That's called plagiarism. Or if you just have your sister, the engineer, come in and do your math homework for you and you pay her $20, that's plagiarism. You're claiming someone else's work as your own. Just don't do it. Really, really don't do it. Be honest with yourself. The DRC is great for students that might need extra time on tests. If you have any sort of math anxiety, contact them. They can usually help you out, especially just by maybe extending the time that you get for exams. But that's not something I can do. You can't email me and say, hey, can I have 7 hours to take the test instead of 1 hour? I can't do that. That's favoritism. If I give you 7 hours, I have to give everyone 7 hours. But if you go through the DRC and they document it, the DRC sends me an email and says, this student gets double time on all exams. Then I have to give you double time on all exams. It has to go through them, though. But if you feel like you need something, talk to the DRC. And again, it could be something as simple as just a little bit of math anxiety and I want to get over it. So maybe a little extra time, or maybe taking pencil and paper tests on campus, or I need a larger monitor because I have trouble seeing the monitor that I have. It's too small. I broke my arm. I need a scribe, someone to help me write the thoughts that I'm thinking. Right? Anything there, you have to go through them, and they're very, very helpful about accommodating students. Non-discrimination, religious observances. Again, since this is online, there's not going to be too much, face-to-face interaction. Just shoot me an email if you have like a religious holiday. I can extend the deadline to date. If it's you have an assignment due on Wednesday, but I observe this holiday on this Wednesday. Okay, then I can push it to Thursday and get it done on Thursday. That is reasonable. I can totally adjust that. The last page is what we call the pacing schedule. It just basically tells you how fast the course moves. Keep in mind that we've only got 6 weeks. Technically, that 7th week, you can see it's only just a couple days, and then the final exam hits. So this pacing schedule is what you should be doing. And like I said, you should probably do 2 sections at least every day. That way you hopefully get to keep your weekends. Or if you're one of those people that says, hey, you know what, I'll just do 1 section every day, that's still fine. Some weeks you might find that the sections are a little bit shorter. Some weeks you might find that the sections are a little bit longer. For test 3, you're actually covering 2 different chapters, 7 and 8, but 7's really short. So I would say, if anything, the most important page on this entire syllabus is probably this last one, because you can just cross these sections off as you complete them and just watch yourself slowly knock out this course 1 section at a time and 1 test at a time. So that last page is pretty helpful. Print it, put it on your fridge, and you can calculate how far away you are from, getting freedom and being done with the course. So if you have any questions on the syllabus, please let me know. There is also one thing I didn't mention here, which is the registration handout. This is what is going to guide you on how to get registered for the My Math Lab. But I'm actually just going to walk you through that right now because I think it's helpful, and it's nice to see the Math Lab and how that all breaks down. So again, grades are here as well. You can play with your grades. The nice thing about the grading system in Canvas is you can actually input what you think you might get as a grade, and you can play around with the grades and see, ooh, if I get an 80 on the final, I get a B. Ooh, if I get a 75 on the final, I don't get a B. It actually lets you plug in some grades and play around. But then again, I have the final say. When I put the grade in, the grade is in. So on the left-hand side, you'll see a link for Honor Lock. Again, that'll come later on in the course. The last final exam and test 5 are going to use Honor Lock, so I'll save that for later so this video doesn't get too long. What you're going to do is click on the My Lab and Mastering. They used to call it My Math Lab. And the first time you click on it, you'll see something that says, get started or get registered for the course. Click on that, and you'll go through the process of getting registered. And again, there's a handout that helps guide you through that process. As you go through that process, it'll ask you for a credit card to pay for it, or if you bought it on campus, it'll ask you for the little ID number that is on the receipt. There is a 2-week free trial that you can do. So if you're waiting on a paycheck or your financial aid hasn't kicked in, you can still scroll to the bottom of the screen while you're registering, and there's a link. They try and hide it. They put it at the bottom, but there's a link that says, I would like to try a 2-week free trial. At least that gets you in there and gets you started, because in a 6-week course, you do not want to fall 2 weeks behind. And then, of course, once those 2 weeks expire, it tells you, okay, you have to pay for it now. But at least it lets you keep your grades and lets you get started. So how to be successful in this course. Here's where we go. We go to Math Lab, and under Assignments, This is where everything that gets graded lives. So when you're looking to get an A in this course and you want all the points possible, this is where all the points come from. Each section is broken down so that you can see the due date, and each section has, it could be anywhere from, I think maybe one of the shorter sections is like 12 questions. Maybe one of the longer sections is like 30 questions. But none of the sections have like hundreds and hundreds of questions. When you look at these assignments, you can see there's a late penalty that will automatically be deducted after the due date, so don't fall behind. You can see the due dates right next to the assignments. So clicking on assignments tells you everything you need to do, and it'll give you your score when it's all said and done. You can also see that the tests are here. You can see the time for the tests. You have 90 minutes to complete each test. You can also see that by clicking on assignments, all of these are kind of set up so that you've got the section that you have to study, and then once you're done with that section, you have to take the test. You can see all these dates are set up so that all the sections sort of line up with the test. So all the due dates for the sections and the tests, I tried to make them all line up fairly nicely. And for test 5, I did just put it all the way till the end so that you can take the test 5 and the final exam. But you can see that the sections after test 4 are still due at a normal time. There's a practice test that you can use to help play around with the HonorLock software if you're not familiar with it, before you have to actually use HonorLock for test 5 or the final exam. So keep that in mind. Test 5 and the final exam and the practice test, you have to use HonorLock. So in order to get that access to these tests, you'll have to go through HonorLock in Canvas. You can't just click on them here because it'll ask you for a password. And you don't get a password. I don't give you a password. HonorLock has the password, so you have to go through the HonorLock process to unlock them. But you can see that everything's open. You can work ahead, which in a 6-week summer course, it's going to be, pretty hard to work really, really far ahead. But you can work ahead and stay on top of things. If you know you're going somewhere, you're going to travel a little bit in the summer, you can jump ahead a couple sections, maybe take the next test, and then that'll give you some breathing room to do what you want to do, so you have a little bit of a summer, and then you come back to it, and you say, okay, I'm not too far behind, I can catch right back up because I got a little ahead. So I wanted everything to be open and available to you, but trust me, you're not going to want to go too fast. You'll find a good pace that works for you, but you don't want to go too fast. So there's all the points. They all live under assignments, and you might want to play with this because sometimes it's set to homework and it doesn't show you the tests. So you may want to play with this button up here that says, hey, please show me all the assignments. And you can see all the assignments, they're just homeworks and tests, and then one final exam all the way at the very bottom. You have your grade book here, but I also update the grades in Canvas, so you'll see the grades in 2 places. You have access to the textbook. It is page for page, cover to cover, exactly the same as the textbook. If you want to go to section 2.1, click on chapter 2, section 2.1, click on the e-text, and it'll pull up the book. Typically, my math lab likes to use, well, of course I get an error. Typically, my math lab likes to use pop-ups for everything. So make sure your pop-up blocker is turned off. Otherwise, you can click on stuff and nothing will happen. So here we go. You can see I pulled up the textbook, and I can flip through it page by page, or I can type in a page that I want. And when you go to the syllabus and it says homework problems or suggested homework problems, you do not have to do those out of the actual textbook. So back on that last page of the syllabus, you'll see on the right-hand column it says suggested homework assignments. These are coming right out of these pages in the textbook. If I go to page 47, I should practice 1 through 91 every other odd. Well, your practice is in my math lab. You don't have to go through the actual textbook. But if you're looking for extra practice because you're struggling with some concepts, these are the practice problems that you do. And in my math lab, you'll notice that when you do go to your homework, under assignments, if I go to section 2.1 and I start working on some questions, let's click on question 1. you can see that this question is from Chapter 2, Section 1, and it looks like question 1. So when we've got this 2.1.1, what that's telling me to do is go to the textbook, Chapter 2, Section 1, look at question 1. So in the e-text, it's basically telling me to go right here. So you can see they're basically the same problems. My math lab changes some numbers for some problems, but it's telling you exactly where this is coming from. So when you do look at, let's say, question 5, if I can pull it up. It's in here somewhere. Okay, maybe I just had to re-click it. If I look through different questions, say like question 5, you can see that question 5 here, not quite exactly the same as question 5 in the textbook, because again, I'm just taking a subset of, a smaller group of questions, but this looks like question 17 in the e-text. Now, as you're going through, you can jump around. I'd recommend probably doing them in order, but you can jump around a little bit. If you just have one question that's being annoying and you want to skip it, you can skip around. Let's go to just a random question. I'm just going to pick on question 18. You can see some of them are multiple choice, some of them are true, false. Some of them have you actually type in a number. So it kind of just depends what section you're on, what question you get. There's different types of questions. Now, the thing about the homework is these are the tools that you pay for. There's a textbook here. You can also view an example, and it actually guides you through the problem. Some people like to learn this way because they have their homework problem, which is a little bit different than this example. This guided example goes through step by step, telling you how to work through the problem. So that's one nice way of doing it. And you get to keep your problem and go back to it and finish it. The other thing is help me solve this. Now be careful with this one, because when you click on help me solve this, notice it put a red X here. And it's actually doing my problem for me. Now it's not going to give me the points for that. And you can see along the way it might have you actually enter some things. But if you noticed it, some of the numbers changed when I closed out of that, because it guided me through how to do the problem. So it's not going to let me just finish that problem and get credit for it. It's going to change the numbers in my question and say, you have to rework this question. Well, let me click on this and get it wrong a couple times. Notice it says final check. Then my math lab will tell you, hey, that's not correct, or it'll say, although your answer is similar, you didn't round to the right decimal place or whatever. Don't click on next question. I mean, even if you do, you can always go back to this question by clicking the arrow backwards, but just click similar question. Notice it'll give you this question again. It might change the numbers, but it's the same concept, and it'll let you rework it for 100% of the points. So the nice thing about the way I have the homework set up is you can work through these questions an infinite number of times and until you get them right. Once you get them right, you can even rework it again and get it wrong and tell my math lab, a little pop-up will say, would you like to keep your correct score, or do you want to keep the new incorrect score? So even if you have them all correct, you can still rework them for practice and just keep the full points. Now, the one thing that you have that replaces the classroom setting is, well, how do I do these questions if I haven't learned the concepts? And that is where the classroom replacement for you, we're learning online, is the video resource library. In order to do anything out of Chapter 2, Section 1, you're going to have to go to Chapter 2, Section 1 and look up the video that corresponds to that section. And you'll see that there are lectures, and you're actually going to watch that lecture. This is how you access those pre-recorded lectures. Sometimes, it's PowerPoint. Sometimes it might be an instructor doing something on a whiteboard. But this is what you're going to do. And you can see they're broken down into small chunks. They're not like hour-long videos. They're broken down so that you can sort of digest the concepts little by little. I do recommend having a notebook and a pen on hand so that you can take notes just like you would in a normal math class. Follow along and work through the problem. If you get stuck, you can pause it, you can rewind it. But I recommend taking notes along with the videos. That way you're not just staring at it, because if you stare at it and zone off into space for 5 minutes, you're going to forget what the heck you're learning, and you're going to just have to rewatch the video again anyway. So time waster there. Actively learn the concepts as the person on screen is working through problems or giving definitions. You should be working through as well. Once you've got those concepts down, then you can go back to the homework and start attacking the homework. And while you're in the homework, if you're getting stuck, that's when those nice tools kick in, like the help me solve this or show an example. Sometimes they're not there. This is just a drop down. It's basically a definition question, so you just have to pick the right word that fills in the blank. But when you have to play around with something that's a little more involved, you'll see those pop back up. There's also an Ask My Instructor button. When you click on that, it pulls up my email. It's linked right to my SCF email. And you can just type something in and say, hey, Mr. Schaller, I've tried this problem, and every time I get a negative instead of a positive number. You know, something like that that can help me try and figure out what's going wrong. And then I can email you back and explain, hey, I think the concept that you have wrong is this. If you do send me an email through the Ask My Instructor, again, I check my email pretty much every day, so you can expect a response within, like 24 hours is pretty fair. Unless maybe it's a weekend and I might go a Saturday and a Sunday without checking my email, but I'll get to you on Monday morning. And of course, you can always just email me through regular email or in the Canvas email. So sorry to make the video so long, but I really like to, lay everything out in detail. So once you're done with this video, please make sure you take that orientation quiz, thumb through the syllabus, make sure everything makes sense. Again, if you need to contact me, shoot me an email. We can set up some office hours. The honor lock stuff, put that on pause for now. I'll explain that a little bit more, and you can always watch that video to get a better grasp of what that's going to entail. But we only need to use it for test 5 in the final exam, so it's nothing we need to go through right now. Get registered for my math lab. Worst case scenario, if you can't buy it or you're waiting on financial aid, then when you register through Canvas and you click on Get Registered, when it comes to giving a payment, look for that 2-week free access. It's usually like a little link at the bottom of the page. And at least get in there, get started, get a feel for the pace of the course. Be honest with yourself. Are you really going to dedicate 6 weeks to doing nothing but math and lose that part of your summer? Or do you feel like, you know what, maybe I'm jumping the gun here. Maybe I should just wait till fall. Or maybe I shouldn't do it online. I feel like I'd be more successful in the classroom, which is generally the case. So yeah, get in there, get working. Let me know how things are going. And if you have any questions throughout the next 6 weeks, shoot me an email. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. Get to it sooner rather than later because it's going to fly by. And I hope you have a wonderful summer semester. I hope you're successful. And I hope I see you for more courses in the future as well. So thank you very much. And like I said, email me if you have any questions.